There's been a major change to a WrestleMania main event with potentially huge ramifications for WWE moving forward. Cesaro's departure from WWE was reportedly more of a WWE decision, and the reason why Brock Lesnar destroyed his pod at Elimination Chamber has finally been revealed. Find out all about it in a bit. Now, we're going to kick things off today with the news that there's been a change to one of WrestleMania's main events. A major change, and one that could have a massive knock-on effect for WWE moving forward. Now, the match we're talking about is, of course, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, which has been listed as a winner-take-all showdown. And it was going to be, title versus title, presumably with somebody emerging with both belts. But that has now changed. Now, ahead of SmackDown last night, it was on WWE.com, where it was first referred to as a title unification match. And if you go to WWE.com SmackDown page right now, like the results page, it's actually there in the header. The header reads, on a chaotic SmackDown, WWE Champion Brock Lesnar turned his contract signing with Universal Champion Roman Reigns for the winner-take-all championship unification match completely upside down. So now, it's not just title versus title. This is it. They're going to fold in one of the belts. This is big. This is huge.
Yeah, Wrestling Inc. also, Sam, to add to your point, as they like to say on the kickoff shows, they're reporting there have been rumours also circulating that WWE are looking to end the brand split after WrestleMania 38, which is obviously the knock-on effect you were referring to earlier. This is shocking to me. I don't know why, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they made such a big deal of the most recent brand split. I don't know what it's like for you, but as a wrestling fan, it's always been like, oh God, maybe if they did a brand split and then they do one, it's like, yeah, and it's like, oh, maybe if they just kind of folded it back in. And I guess it's me not ever being happy with it. But I'm more worried about the roster. WWE still has an incredibly deep roster, even after all of the releases they've been making over the last couple of years. But if you go back down to, just a general WWE product without the brand split involved, are we not just going to see the same 10 faces but twice a week now?
Well, that was why they brought it in originally, wasn't it? Way back in the sort of genesis of SmackDown was to give people a rest from show to show, wasn't it? So it does make you wonder, because obviously last night on SmackDown we had a segment where it was just sort of a throwaway. We had Shayna Baszler, we had Drew Gulak, and other people who weren't used just watching the monitor. And that might just be a superstar's, that might be as much as they get for if the brand split does go away. But it's going to be very interesting going forward. It has been around for 2016 wasn't it, when the brand split was brought back?
Yeah, because we got SmackDown with the interesting camera, and they had the ramp camera for a while. It was all a lot of fun when it first started, but ultimately, if we're back here, then it's quite worrying. So I don't know. At the same time, it's kind of exciting. I guess it just depends how they move forward with it. But the big takeaway here, of course, being Roman versus Brock is now a unification match. So do you reckon they're not going to get rid of the WWE title, surely? Could you imagine?
Yeah, of course I could. Roman's got the Universal one.
They got to get rid of the Universal title.
That would make more sense.
They can't, because they can't. The backlash against New Japan for, eliminating their lineage was bad. WWE, it's nah, I can't imagine that. That's...
I can't imagine WWE fans care that much about the lineage, to be honest with you.
That's true.
The company don't really care about the lineage as much as they might do, but I can certainly see Roman Reigns winning and maybe just going, oh, I'll take the WWE title just because I can and I'm Roman Reigns and all that sort of malarkey.
Yeah, quite possibly. But sticking with Mania, we have potential Sasha Banks Mania plans revealed, and they're not what you'd be expecting. So she made a return to the ring last night on SmackDown with a win over Shotzi. Naomi was on commentary for the match. Following the match, Naomi got in the ring to celebrate with Sasha. Sasha's really happy to be back. The crowd are really into it. Naomi's there. It's like a big, nice, happy moment. And then Naomi just gets a mic, and out of nowhere, completely out of the blue, just says, you're looking at the next WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And Sasha's kind of a little bit yeah, and just, they just go with it. And so I mean, the rumor had been for the longest time going into Mania that we were going to be getting Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks, but obviously Ronda has taken that avenue off the table. But women's tag title scene is not what I was expecting for the boss.
No, there's a glimmer of hope, Sam. I don't want to be too much of a negative Nancy all the way through this story, but there is a glimmer of hope, the fact that Sasha Banks is involved. And the best period in the women's tag team title history has been when Sasha Banks has had one of the titles with Bayley the first time and with Bayley the second time, more importantly. So that's the glimmer of hope there. But then, of course, you are thinking, yes, this is Sasha Banks. I think that last night was the first time we'd seen her since the shocking elimination at the Royal Rumble, where she sort of came out with the Sailor Moon gear.
Sailor Moon. You learned all about Sailor Moon, didn't you?
And then she got eliminated quicker than anyone, I think, imagined. And now she's back and then just put in the women's tag team scene. I guess that with the upper echelons of the card with both belts just sort of sorted out, we need to find something for Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, and I guess a women's tag team title thing is going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no confirmation as to whether this is going to actually be... like, they haven't gone, this is definitely happening at Mania, but just given the time scale, we're kind of assuming here that, you know, this is where this is heading. WWE often likes to do, you know, multi-team matches, big kind of show-off spectacle moment matches where everybody kind of gets to have a little bit of a chance to shine. But, yeah, ultimately, I'm just going to have to finish it off with what we always say in situations like this, which is... fun. And it's that, you know, the women's tag scene in WWE just needs elevating, and the women's tag titles just need that little bit. They just need that little bit more love and care and focus. And, you know, fingers crossed, this is the time. Fingers crossed.
You know what else it needs, Sam?
What?
Teams. I'm sure this is just the second tag team we have now in the women's division, along with obviously the current champions, Carmella and
Zelina. They've got to do
something
about it.
Are Carmella and Zelina still the champions?
I believe so, yeah.
It's been a while.
But keeping it with last night's SmackDown, obviously we had Sasha Banks making a in-ring return, but Sami Zayn came down to celebrate his Intercontinental title win from Elimination Chamber, and he was lording it over everybody, as you'd expect. But he was bragging about taking Nakamura out and like shattering his knee, I think, and he claimed to be happy to defend the title against anybody that wants a shot. So he's going to be a fighting champion and all this stuff. Who should cut him off? But of course, Johnny Knoxville. So Jackass theme plays. Out comes Johnny. He got a big pop, and a lot of people chanted for him, but how can you not love Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Johnny Knoxville. I got
Especially
a lot of crap.
The guy went through this, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I got a lot of crap for saying I'd happily see him become the IC champion, but I would. I don't care anymore.
Sam, it's a hard thing because on one hand, I said this in the news video a little while ago, on one hand it's the prestigious Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. On the other hand, it's the Intercontinental Championship here in 2022, which WWE just haven't put on the same pedestal as they have in previous years. So if it's going to be entertaining, why the hell not?
And it has lost the luster. Entertainment is the key. But essentially, Knoxville insinuated that Zayn didn't have the balls to face him. They had a bit of a stare down. Zayn kind of pretended to leave the ring, caught Johnny with a cheap shot, hit him with a couple of haluva kicks, and then just buggered off. But later in the night, this led to Ricochet. I think Adam Page was giving... Adam Pearce was giving Sami Zayn a bit of a dressing down backstage for it, and Ricochet popped up, and Ricochet was a bit like, oh, fighting champion, eh? Anybody who wants a shot. Sami tried to backtrack it a bit, but Pearce made it official for next week. So we got Ricochet versus Sami to look forward to in what should be a lovely little matchup. But yeah, apparently this is all still building toward Knoxville versus Zayn at Mania, and I'm all for it, you know, all for it.
Yeah, Sami's been keeping it alive, obviously, with the appearance on the red carpet for the Jackass premiere, and he's been keeping it alive with the little Jackass Forever parody logo on his tights and little references. I loved his sparkly jacket last night, Shades of Joe Henry 2016 from Sami Zayn there. And go back and watch, if you haven't seen the segment already, the second haluva kick he delivers. Because I swear to God, it's the hardest Knoxville has been hit since he took that whack from the bull.
Yeah,
it's an incredible shot.
Yeah. I just to keep it with WWE here, just to move forward onto the next story, we've got more news about Cesaro's exodus from WWE, and it's being listed as more of a WWE decision, apparently. But the Wrestling Observer newsletter reporting, of course, that Cesaro's contract expired this week. Apparently, the two sides were in talks on a new deal, but they couldn't come to terms. Now, the Observer are saying, given the huge money that was being offered to others whose deals have been up, like Zayn, Owens, and Styles, it would indicate that Cesaro did not get that level of offer from the company. He also hadn't gotten any backdoor AEW offers when he was negotiating, apparently. So it wasn't that he had a better offer elsewhere or something that he could use for leverage. That isn't saying AEW may not make an offer now that he's a free agent, though. Apparently, right now, he's leaving the promotion unless something changes. This was more of a WWE decision than a Cesaro decision, in the sense that he wasn't looking to leave like the others were, but they made an offer that he didn't like. So they kind of lowballed him, and I guess, you know, there's only so much time you can be overlooked, right? We've all wanted nothing but the best for Cesaro, and we've all been screaming until our lungs are blue. You know, we want him with a belt. We want him on a pedestal. He's Cesaro, he's awesome, but the company just doesn't see it.
No, he has achieved a hell of a lot in the sort of 10 years that he's been like a sort of prominent figure on the main roster, especially in the tag team scene.
Made me care about tag team wrestling again for the first time in a long time.
Multiple times. You think you've got to be one of the greatest tag, you know, in kayfabe, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. You think about with Sheamus and Tyson Kidd, other things as well. The arm bar as well at WrestleMania when he put the Big Show over the top rope. He's done a lot of things, but crucially, he's obviously never had that main event run, which it looked like they were going to do just sort of like after WrestleMania last year.
And then it fizzled out.
It fizzled out, yeah. And I can see, you know, the promos and whatnot that people hold against them. You know, we've had worse people with worse promos be world champion. It's just a fact. So you find a way around that, don't you? You emphasize the strengths, you hide the flaws. Just, you know, do it.
All they need to do is just pay a little bit more attention, and that would have been it. That would have been it.
And if he's not going to be sort of creatively fulfilled, give him. He wants the money, obviously, and the money's not there, and he's not creatively fulfilled. So I guess it's more of a mutual part, and I'm reading him from that.
Yeah,
he just didn't want to get him up there. He didn't want to accept what they were giving him, so he went away.
I'm sure that wherever he ends up, he's going to be a massive, massive deal. Finally, and finally, just to round this video out, we've got the reason why Brock Lesnar destroyed his pod at Elimination Chamber. Now, when it got down to you know, the end of the Elimination Chamber match, there were 2 pods still to open, one of which was, of course, Bobby Lashley's. Bobby Lashley having been removed earlier in the night, and Bobby wasn't in it, of course. So when it came down, it was, it's going to be Lesnar, and then the light finished on Lashley's pod, and it was all a bit like, what? And Lesnar kicked his pod door in, went into the ring, and reports came out pretty quickly after that was not scripted. That was not supposed to happen. But the Observer reporting at the 9-minute 20 mark of the match, the idea was that Lashley's pod would be open since it was his time, but he wasn't there. Lesnar apparently knew that Lashley was going to be taken out and not in the match, but he didn't know that they were going to signal for Lashley's pod to go first. He also apparently knew that they were running low on time and the show had a hard out, like, you know, they had to finish by a set point. So he thought it was a bit of a mistake. He thought that they were running out of time. He knew there was a lot that needed to be done, and so he just chose to take control of the situation, boot the Perspex door in, and then get in the ring and smash everybody to absolute pieces. Now, apparently everybody else in the ring knew that there was a bit of a rush about to happen when Lesnar got into the ring. Weren't really anticipating him coming in because they had some stuff to do beforehand, but then just when he got in, they knew it was time for them to go. So that kind of explains the dramatic speed at which that match just went whoop, like straight up a cliff face.
Yeah, but, a lot of people have been making stuff about the circle. That was because they showed some replays after the match had finished, and there was this lovely circle, perfect circle in the Perspex glass next to Brock Lesnar's left-hand side. I think, personally, he would have smashed that with his hand. You know the way that stuff breaks. You can never sort of tell how it's going to break, can you? So I think he's just smashed it like that before the camera's shown the circle to be there, and then when the camera's gone there, the circle was there. But I firmly subscribe with the theory that he went off the script and then he did it in the most Brock Lesnar way possible that made you realise, maybe he did go off, maybe he didn't. I don't know. I can't tell. It looks real.
And that's kind of, it's what I like about wrestling, right? You want it to be to that weird mix. At the same time, just to play devil's advocate, maybe they have a perfect circle just scored into the Perspex in case one of the doors jams.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But that is it for your first dose of lovely weekend, bumper weekend, lovely weekend wrestling news. I have been Sam Driver. This has been the lovely Ross Twaddell. And we'll catch you in a bit for another news video. Hope you're having a lovely weekend. Hope you're out there staying safe. And we will see you again very shortly.